Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends of all ages, today I want to invite you to a conversation not of minds, but of hearts. This is not a speech filled with facts and figures. This is not a lecture to impress or a performance to entertain. This is a heart-to-heart talk. And in this moment, I ask you not to listen with your ears alone, but with your soul, with your memories, with your hopes and your hurts. Emotional honesty is the foundation upon which real relationships and personal growth are built. In doing the quarantine rebellions, I find that long durability, turning only thoughts and feelings to reversion honesty, in emotional honesty, becomes a quiet rebellion, a choice to live, a quiet rebellion, a choice to live a game board and comfortably. Many people go through life wearing masks, hiding their real thoughts and feelings. But what they don't realize is that in hiding their true selves, they also build walls between themselves and others. Emotional honesty is about tearing down those walls and allowing others to truly see us, even if that means showing parts we fear might be judged. From childhood, we are often taught to suppress certain emotions. We are told not to cry, to be strong, to move on, or to get over it. These well-meaning pieces of advice end up shaping a generation of emotionally stunted individuals who learn to bottle up their feelings rather than process them. Emotional honesty challenges that conditioning. It invites us to unlearn those lessons and create space for healthy emotional expression. By acknowledging what we feel, whether it's joy, anger, sorrow, fear, or confusion, we validate our experiences and honor our inner world. Suppressing emotion only delays healing, but expressing it can start the process of growth and recovery. Being emotionally honest doesn't mean blurting out everything you feel without consideration. It means recognizing your emotions, understanding them, and expressing them in a way that's respectful to both yourself and others. It's about having the courage to say, I am not okay today, or that hurt me, or even, I need help. These may seem like simple statements, but in reality, they require immense strength. They reflect a willingness to show up as you are, rather than who you think you should be. Somehow, we are with all our deep capitals. They are. These are. This is. Emotional honesty also has a transformative impact on relationships. Okay? When people feel safe enough to express their feelings without fear of being shut down or judged. Deeper than being shut, communities also has a transformative impact on relationships. There is room for empathy. There is room for empathy. Relationships that are rooted in emotional honesty are more resilient because they are based on truth rather than assumption or pretense. They allow both parties to grow, not just together, but also as individuals. On a personal level, emotional honesty leads to greater self-centeredness and mental clarity. When we are honest with ourselves about what we feel and why we feel it, we gain insight into our own behaviors, desires, and wounds. This understanding empowers us to make better decisions, set healthier boundaries, and build a life that aligns with our true values, denial, or fear. We become strangers to ourselves, lost in roles and routines that no longer serve us. But when we embrace our feelings, even the uncomfortable ones, we begin to live more consciously and authentically. Lastly, emotional honesty allows us to face reality instead of living in illusion. It challenges us to confront the truth of our situations, our relationships, and our dreams. It encourages us to ask difficult questions. Am I happy? Am I growing? Am I being true to myself? These are not always easy to answer, but they are necessary if we want to live with integrity. Denying our emotions may offer temporary comfort, but embracing them brings lasting peace. Emotional honesty is not just a virtue, it's a necessity for a fulfilled and meaningful life. Every person we meet is carrying a story that remains unseen, a story of pain, of loss, of silent battles fought in the privacy of their own hearts. Often we move through life assuming that others have it easier or are stronger simply because they smile in public or keep going without complaint. But beneath the surface, there is often a deep reservoir of unspoken burdens. Some carry the ache of unresolved grief, others the sting of past betrayal. There are those silently enduring mental health struggles, financial insecurity, chronic illness, or the weight of expectations that threaten to crush them. These hidden burdens are rarely visible to the eye, yet they influence every decision, every interaction, every breath. Society doesn't always create space for people to share their pain openly. There's an underlying pressure to have it all together, to present a composed version of ourselves that masks what's really going on. This leads to an epidemic of quiet suffering. People are hurting in silence because they believe their pain might be a burden to others, or that expressing it will be seen as weakness. As a result, resume protectively, we live in a paradoxical reality where so many feel experience be for an experience be the object each encounter exception attitude. You deserve to take nothing. When we recognize that everyone is carrying something, we begin to treat others with more patience and empathy. It becomes easier to offer grace, to forgive missteps, and to create safe spaces where people can be themselves, flawed, struggling, but still worthy of love and understanding. Understanding the hidden weight people carry also opens the door to more honest conversations. It gives others permission to be real, to drop the facade and to speak from the heart. In a world where superficial small talk dominates most interactions, there is something deeply healing about being able to say, "I'm not okay," and having someone respond, "It's okay, you don't have to be." These moments of authenticity build deeper connections than years of polite but surface level exchanges ever could. They remind us that we are not alone, that others too are walking their own difficult paths. Moreover, acknowledging our own hidden burdens can be incredibly liberating. So often we minimize our struggles or tell ourselves we should be stronger, grateful, or over it by now. But this inner invalidation only deepens the pain. When we finally allow ourselves to feel what we're feeling, to name our sorrow, fear, or exhaustion, we begin the process of healing. Self-compassion starts with honesty, and from that honesty flows the strength to seek help, to rest, to speak up, or to set boundaries. We can only release what we first acknowledge. Recognizing that we all carry hidden weight also challenges the myth that life should be easy or perfect. Struggles are part of the human experience, not a deviation from it. Pain doesn't make us broken, it makes us real. And in our brokenness, we find connection. We may not be able to see each other's burdens, but when we move through the world with the understanding that they exist, we contribute to a more compassionate, inclusive, and emotionally safe world. One where people feel seen even when their struggles are invisible. In a world that often glorifies invincibility and emotional control, vulnerability is frequently misunderstood. Many people equate vulnerability with weakness, believing that to reveal one's fears, insecurities, or pain is to open the door to judgment or defeat. Yet the truth is quite the opposite. Vulnerability is not the absence of strength, but the presence of immense courage. It takes far more bravery to say I'm struggling than to pretend everything is fine. To show one's true self, flaws and all, in a society that rewards perfection is one of the boldest acts a person can commit. Vulnerability is the foundation of authenticity, and through it, we discover who we truly are beneath the armor. When we are vulnerable, we allow others to see our humanity. We strip away the carefully curated image of invulnerability and reveal the real emotions that live inside us. Whether it's admitting we made a mistake, asking for forgiveness, or expressing love without knowing if it will be returned, vulnerability is the thread that connects us on a soul-deep level. It's what transforms ordinary conversations into life-changing ones, and what shifts acquaintances into lifelong friends. The connections that endure are those in which both people feel safe enough to be vulnerable. They are built not on perfection, but on the mutual recognition of our shared imperfection. It is also important to understand that vulnerability is not about being fragile. It's about being open. A vulnerable person is not weak. They are open to experience, open to growth, and open to life in all its rawness. Vulnerability invites us to live fully instead of hiding from the hard parts of our journey. It is the doorway through which creativity, love, and empathy enter. Without vulnerability, we cannot truly create, fully forgive, trust, or even hope. These are emotional risks. And without the willingness to risk being hurt or misunderstood, We remain trapped behind emotional barriers that isolate us from our fullest potential. Moreover, vulnerability allows healing to take place. Pain that is hidden cannot be addressed. Wounds that are denied remain infected. But when we allow ourselves to be seen, when we open up about our fears, our grief, our disappointments, we begin to process and release what burdens us. Vulnerability makes it possible for others to support us, to understand us, and to walk with us through the dark. It fosters empathy, both from others and toward ourselves. It is a victory, but it also turn it the truth. It is a sacrifice from within. It fortifies us with tenderness. It contribute. In leadership, vulnerability is equally powerful. Whether you are a parent, a teacher, a friend, or a public figure, showing vulnerability doesn't diminish your authority, it enhances it. People do not follow those who pretend to be flawless. They follow those who are real. A leader who says, "I don't have all the answers," or "I made a mistake," earns respect because they model integrity and courage. Vulnerability in leadership creates a culture where others feel safe to speak up, make mistakes, and grow. It breaks the toxic cycle of fear and fosters an environment of trust and innovation. Finally, embracing vulnerability leads to greater emotional resilience. By confronting our fears and allowing ourselves to feel, we build a deeper understanding of ourselves. We become more grounded, more aware, and more connected to what truly matters. We begin to understand that being strong doesn't mean being unaffected. True strength is the ability to keep our hearts open, even when life gives us every reason to close them. Vulnerability is not a crack in our armor. It is the very place where light enters. And in that light, we become not weaker, but infinitely more powerful. In an increasingly digital world, the concept of genuine human connection is often overshadowed by superficial interactions. It's not about how many people we interact with, but how deeply we relate to them. A single meaningful conversation can feed its too tragically. And it is not about how many people we interact with. It's not about how many people we interact with. It's not about true connection comes from presence, empathy, and vulnerability, not from emojis, likes, or hashtags. It is through authentic relationships that we experience belonging, validation, and love. Many of us are starving for connection without even realizing it. We go through our daily routines, exchanging polite greetings and quick check-ins, Yet rarely do we feel truly heard or understood. Or are you followed by, I'm fine, even when we are far from it? We wear social masks out of fear of being judged, misunderstood, or appearing too emotional. But in doing so, we deny ourselves and others the opportunity to form bonds based on truth. Real connection requires us to move past small talk and into the realm of honesty, even if that means being uncomfortable. It is only when we let our guard down that real closeness begins. Genuine human connection has the power to transform lives. When someone listens to us without interrupting, when they hold space for our emotions without trying to fix us, when they accept us without conditions, something powerful happens. We begin to feel safe. We begin to feel seen. This sense of emotional safety can be life-changing, especially for those who have gone through life feeling invisible or unheard. A warm, sincere conversation can be more healing than any medication. It reminds us that we are not alone in our experiences, and that someone else is willing to meet us where we are. True connection also fosters empathy and compassion. When we take the time to really know another person's story, it becomes difficult to judge them harshly. We begin to understand that everyone has a reason for the way they are, reasons often rooted in pain, trauma, or struggle. Genuine connection encourages us to replace assumptions with curiosity and judgment with understanding. It teaches us to see beyond the exterior and into the human heart, where fears, dreams, and longings reside. This level of empathy is essential not just for friendships or romantic relationships, but also for families, communities, and societies at large. Moreover, real connection provides a mirror in which we come to understand ourselves better. Through our interactions with others, we gain clarity about our values, needs, boundaries, and fears. We learn how we relate to people, how we handle conflict, how we give and receive love. Connection becomes a tool for self-discovery and personal growth. When we feel safe enough to be our authentic selves in a relationship, we are also more likely to reflect honestly on who we are and who we want to become. The depth of our relationships often reflects the depth of our self-awareness. Yet, genuine connection doesn't happen by accident. It requires intentionality. It requires us to slow down, to be present, to listen deeply, and to engage from a place of sincerity. We must be willing to show up not just physically but emotionally. This means putting away distractions, making time for real conversations, and being willing to sit with discomfort when hard truths arise. It's not always easy, but the reward is profound. In genuine connection, we find companionship, healing, and a sense of purpose. We remember that as human beings, we were never meant to go through life alone. We were meant to walk it together, heart to heart. In the rush of daily life and the pressure to perform, self-compassion is often overlooked. Yet it is one of the most vital aspects of emotional well-being. While we are taught from a young age to be kind to others, we are rarely taught how to be kind to ourselves. Instead, we develop inner voices that are harsh, critical, and unrelenting. We beat ourselves up over mistakes, question our worth, and set unrelenting standards we would never impose on anyone else. Self-compassion is about turning that around. It means extending to ourselves the same patience, understanding, and care we would offer to a dear friend in pain. It is not about self-indulgence or excuses. It is about embracing our humanness with grace. When we make a mistake or fall short, our first instinct is often self-judgment. We say things like, "I'm so stupid," or "I always mess things up." These thoughts may feel like motivation, but in reality they drain our confidence and feed our shame. Self-compassion, on the other hand, allows us to acknowledge the mistake without destroying our self-worth. It says, "Yes, I made an error, but that doesn't mean I am a failure." It gives us the emotional safety to learn and grow, rather than spiral into guilt. Is a treasure for botany, inherent in a person to change and eat a hiring. Moreover, self-compassion builds emotional resilience. Life is filled with inevitable challenges, disappointments, and heartbreaks. A self-compassionate person is better equipped to navigate these rough waters because they have a stable internal support system. Instead of collapsing under pressure, they lean inward with gentleness. They remind themselves that they are not alone and that suffering is a shared part of the human experience. In this way, self-compassion doesn't make us soft. It makes us stronger, more adaptable, and better able to bounce back from adversity. Another powerful aspect of self-compassion is the way it shifts our motivation. Traditional self-criticism often motivates through fear. Fear of failure, rejection, or not being good enough. Self-compassion, in contrast, motivates through love and encouragement. It says, "I want to do better because I care about myself." It creates a healthy internal environment where goals can be pursued with enthusiasm rather than anxiety, and where progress is celebrated instead of constantly compared to some ideal of perfection. Self-compassion also plays a critical role in mental health. Studies show that individuals who practice self-compassion experience lower levels of stress, anxiety, and depression. This is because they are better able to regulate their emotions, manage their thoughts, and cope with difficult situations. They don't rely solely on external validation to feel worthy, because they are cultivating that sense of worth from within. By learning to soothe ourselves in moments of pain, win, 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 then is ready our empowerment, from our illustrations to our inner help, Hosanna, from our simpler, from our inner help. Perhaps most importantly, self-compassion allows us to embrace our full selves, the good, the bad, and the in-between. It reminds us that we don't have to be perfect to be worthy of love, that our scars, our flaws, and our failures do not make us unlovable. They make us real. In a world that constantly pushes us to do more, be more, and achieve more, self-compassion invites us to simply be. It offers a quiet, gentle voice that says, "You are enough." And in that voice, we find the strength to keep going. Not because we are trying to prove our value, but because we finally understand that it has always been there. Our inner dialogue, the voice inside our minds that speaks to us all day long, shapes the way we see ourselves, the world, and our place within it. While it may be invisible to others, this voice is one of the most powerful forces in our lives. It narrates our experiences, interprets events, and forms beliefs that influence every choice we make. For many people, this inner dialogue is overly critical, often echoing past rejections, failures, or societal expectations. Instead of offering support, it becomes a source of self-doubt and emotional pain. Learning to listen to, understand, and reshape our inner dialogue is essential to emotional well-being and personal growth. Often, we don't even notice how unkind our inner voice has become. We criticize ourselves for being too emotional, too slow, not good enough, not successful enough. We carry on this silent battle without ever pausing to ask, would I speak this way to someone I love? If the answer is no, then why is it acceptable to speak that way to ourselves? The truth is, require that it causes most internalized negativity from external society. Ready is not the definite suscitor, the difference della Deo candelisti. As once we become aware of our inner dialogue, we can begin to shift it from destructive to constructive. This doesn't mean blindly affirming ourselves or ignoring reality. It means practicing honest, compassionate self-caution. Instead of saying, "I'm a failure," we might say, "I'm struggling right now, but that doesn't define who I am." Instead of "I always mess things up," we can say, "I made a mistake and I'm learning from it." These shifts may seem small, but over time, they have a profound impact on our self-assessed and emotional resilience. Our minds believe what we consistently tell them. So why not tell them the truth with kindness? Our inner dialogue also plays a major role in how we relate to others. When our internal voice is harsh and unforgiving, we tend to project those same judgments onto those around us. We become less patient, more reactive, and more critical, not only of ourselves, but of everyone we encounter. On the other hand, when we learn to speak to ourselves with compassion, we develop more empathy and understanding for others. We become better listeners, better friends, and better partners. Changing our inner dialogue doesn't just transform our relationship with ourselves, it transforms our entire way of connecting with the world. Furthermore, healthy inner dialogue fosters clarity and decision making. When we are trapped in negative self-talk, our minds become cluttered with fear, shame, and doubt. This mental noise drowns out our intuition and prevents us from seeing situations clearly. But when we practice mindful self-talk, we create space for reflection and insight. We are better able to assess our goals, set boundaries, and make choices that align with our values. The voice inside becomes a guide, not a critic. It offers wisdom, encouragement, and perspective when we need it most. Lastly, cultivating a healthy inner dialogue is a lifelong practice. It requires patience, consistency, and self-awareness. There will be days when the old voices return, when doubt creeps back in, and when kindness feels difficult. But every time we choose to respond with gentleness instead of judgment, we are rewriting the script. We are building a new narrative, one rooted in truth, self-respect, and compassion. Our inner voice, once a source of pain, can become a powerful ally. And in learning to speak to ourselves with love, we not only heal old wounds, but also open the door to a more confident, peaceful, and fulfilled version of ourselves. Healing is often portrayed as a solitary journey, a quiet path one must walk alone to rediscover peace and purpose. While solitude does play a role in reflection and self-sustaining, true and lasting healing rarely happens in isolation. We are social beings wired for connection, empathy, and shared experiences. When we isolate ourselves in pain, we cut off the very lifeline that often brings relief: human connection. Healing together means opening our hearts, being seen in our most vulnerable moments, and allowing others to walk with us in our suffering. There is something profoundly powerful about being able to say, "I'm hurting," and having someone respond with, "Shared healing." Reminds us that our struggles are not unique in their essence. While our stories may differ in detail, the emotions, grief, fear, shame, loss are universal. When someone else says, "I have felt that too," it dissolves the illusion of isolation. We feel less like we are the only one carrying a heavy burden, and more like we are part of a larger tapestry of human experience. Support groups, meaningful conversations, heartfelt friendships, and compassionate communities all become places where healing can unfold naturally. In those spaces, we don't have to perform or pretend. We are allowed to simply be. And in that being, we begin to mend. Being part of a healing circle also brings the gift of perspective. When we listen to others share their wounds and watch them slowly rebuild themselves, we gain courage to face our own pain. We realize that healing is not linear. It is messy, unpredictable, and often painful, but it is possible. Seeing others navigate grief, trauma, or heartache gives us strength and models resilience. We begin to believe that if they can survive, grow, and even thrive, then so can we. Their stories become mirrors in which we recognize our own potential to overcome. Additionally, healing together cultivates a sense of accountability and encouragement. When we are surrounded by people who genuinely care about our well-being, we are more likely to stay committed to our healing process. They check in, offer comfort, celebrate our progress, and remind us of our worth on the days we forget it. Their presence doesn't solve our problems, but it makes the journey more bearable. Community becomes a cushion. Their place to calls and helps us rise again slowly, but steadily, but steadily. You see, what this is, and it's slowly but steadily. Equally important is our ability to contribute to others' healing. There is deep meaning in being a source of light for someone else in their darkness. When we support others, we find purpose in our own pain. The lessons we've learned, the strength we've built, and the empathy we've developed become gifts we can share. This reciprocal healing strengthens bonds and gives a sense of fulfillment that can't be found in solitude. Helping others does not mean fixing them. It means being present, offering understanding, and reminding them that they are not walking through their pain alone. Finally, healing together requires a cultural shift, a willingness to normalize emotional honesty, to make space for difficult conversations, and to challenge the stigma around mental health and vulnerability. It means creating homes, schools, workplaces, and communities where people feel safe to express their pain. It involves learning to listen without trying to rescue, to sit in silence without judgment. When we do this, we create a world where healing is no longer a lonely path, but a collective journey. We realize that the most beautiful parts of being human come not from avoiding pain, but from facing it together. So, as we bring this heart-to-heart talk to a close, let us remember that we are all travelers on a shared journey, each carrying silent struggles, unspoken dreams, and untold stories. In a world that often pushes us to hide, to perform, or to pretend, may we find the courage to be real. May we choose honesty over perfection, connection over isolation, and compassion over judgment. Let us not wait for permission to feel, to speak, or to heal. The heart knows what it needs. And when we begin to listen to ourselves and to each other, we rediscover the power of being human. Not flawless, but fearless in our authenticity. Not alone, but united in understanding. Because in the end, it is not success, status, or strength that defines us, but the simple, sacred act of showing up heart to heart.